Chapter 3, The Journey Begins. With the Scarlet Sword in his hand and his heart full of hope, Ilian began his journey, following the directions that the sword whispered to him. The dense, dark forest stretched before him, and the breeze carried with it an air of mystery. The trees seemed to whisper ancient secrets as he walked along the path. The path the sword traced was intricate and enigmatic, taking him through varied landscapes, from ancient forests to forgotten villages. In each place they visited, Ilian faced challenges that tested his skill and bravery. In an isolated village, he encountered a greedy warrior who had heard of the Scarlet Sword and lusted for its power. Ilian held the Scarlet Sword, which shone brightly, imbued with his ancient power, in his hand. The two warriors stared at each other, without taking their eyes off each other. With their swords in attack position, they made precise steps from left to right, while the tension in the air increased, announcing an imminent confrontation. In a moment, the two warriors stood still, enveloped in a cutting silence that seemed to have stopped time around them. In a split second, the swords collided at surprising speed, the Scarlet Sword responding to Ilian's movements with supernatural dexterity. The duel was intense and fierce, full of clashes of steel and rapid movements. The warriors' blows were precise and deadly, and Ilian fought with all his might to defend himself. Every move required superhuman effort, and sweat soaked his forehead as he dodged and counterattacked, knowing that victory was the only option if he wanted to continue his search for him. The sounds of swords clashing filled the air, and the gleam of steel was reflected in his eyes. With the Scarlet Sword glowing brightly, a deep reddish color, Ilian began to understand his opponent's attack patterns and weaknesses, finding an opening in the warrior's defense. At that precise moment, he launched an accurate attack that disarmed his opponent. Ilian kept his composure and kept his pressure on the warrior. Every move was calculated and precise, and finally, Ilian managed to disarm the warrior completely. Victory was his. With the greedy warrior defeated, Ilian recognized that his fight to keep the Scarlet Sword was far from over, and so, his journey persisted with unwavering conviction. Following the call of the sword, Ilian arrived at the majestic city of Kadapur, a place full of magic and secrets, where both he and the Scarlet Sword found themselves immersed in a complex political game. Two factions of magicians were fighting for control of an ancient artifact, which is known as the Crystal of Clarity, and is believed to have the ability to grant immense magical power to whoever controls it, and the sword was connected in some way with its resolution. The faction, known as the Guardians of Light, seek to protect the artifact and ensure that it does not fall into the wrong hands, as they fear its power will be misused and cause harm. They are defenders of stability and peace in the region and are willing to fight to maintain control of the crystal. The faction, called the Followers of Darkness, intends to seize the crystal, to increase their power and dominance in the region. They are ambitious wizards who wish to use the artifact for their own purposes. Ilian had to use his ingenuity and skills to investigate and gather information about the conflict between the two factions of magicians. He sought out neutral allies and encountered a series of challenging puzzles. In an ancient magical library, he had to decipher a scroll covered in mysterious symbols. The riddle said, "Where eternal fire meets the fountain of wisdom, there you will find the first truth." Ilian knew that this referred to an inscription hidden in a place where the flame burned incessantly and where ancient books were lined up on dusty shelves. As he gained knowledge, he found ancient writings and spoke with magical beings who shared ancient wisdom. Ilian faced difficult decisions about the fate of the artifact. A clue led him to a garden with a maze. At each intersection, the words engraved on the walls spoke in riddles. One of them said, "The path of truth is that which reflects the light of the moon in his heart." Ilian realized that he must follow the path illuminated by a dim light that came from a magical moon-shaped crystal in the center of the labyrinth. As he solved each puzzle, he came closer to understanding the root of the conflict and protecting the Scarlet Sword from the wrong hands. Ilian noticed a stone structure partially hidden by vegetation. As he approached, he discovered that it was an ancient altar covered in moss and surrounded by runic inscriptions. In the center of the altar, lay a shining metal piece that joined perfectly to the armor of the Scarlet Sword, a backplate that protects his shoulders and back. The discovery of this new piece strengthened the bond between Ilian and the sword, and both felt they were one step closer to unlocking its mysteries. Continuing their journey, they came to an ancient bridge crossing a roaring river. The confrontation that awaited them this time involved a group of warriors skilled in the art of the sword. The combat was fierce, with precise movements and elaborate combat strategies. Ilian proved to be skilled and determined, and his efforts were rewarded when he found a new piece of the Scarlet Sword's armor, a greave that protected his other leg. The journey also led them to face monsters, mythological beings, and ancient dragons that craved the power of the Scarlet Sword. Each battle was a test of Ilian's skill and the strength of his bond with the sword. As they progressed, Ilian began to understand more about the mystery surrounding the Scarlet Sword. It seemed that the Scarlet Gem was connected to ancient events, to a time when magic flowed freely and the secrets of the universe were known to a few. In a conversation with the sword, Ilian asked, "Why me? Why did you choose me as your wielder?" The voice in his mind replied, "Your pure heart and lack of greed make you worthy. But you also have a destiny intertwined with the story of the Scarlet Sword. Your path is destined to reveal its secrets." The mystery and excitement of Ilian's journey intensified as he progressed. He and the Scarlet Sword were on a quest that went beyond adventure and magic. They were destined to discover ancient secrets that had been hidden for centuries, and in the process, they would forge an indestructible bond, which would lead them to face even greater challenges in the coming chapters of Scarlet Sword.